Yo cha vassasataṃ jīve apassaṃ amataṃ padaṃ ekāhaṃ jīvitaṃ seyyo passato amataṃ padaṃ. Though one should live 100 years not seeing the deathless state, yet better is life for a single day for one who sees the deathless state. I would like to start by paying homage to the Lord Buddha, offering salutation to senior and junior monks respectively. Greetings to all the lay supporters and distinguished guests who have joined with this online funeral chanting today. We are gathered here today to celebrate the life of Mr. Michael Heaton Woods, who recently passed away at the age of 82. Today is January the 5th, 2021. I am Phra Nicholas Thanissaro of Dhammapada International Meditation Center in Azusa, and today I would like to share a short Dhamma talk on the topic of the living are few, but the dead are many, for the benefit of those attending the funeral. My Dhamma talk today is derived from the Dhammapada, verse 114, and its commentary in a teaching given by the Buddha at Jetavana Temple with reference to the nun Kisā Gotamī. Kisā Gotamī was born in a poverty-stricken household in ancient India. She was a young girl who had a lot of merit, and to cut a long story short, the merit gave her the ability similar to King Midas that everything she touched could turn to gold. She was able to marry into a family of a rich merchant who was down on his luck because he was able to salvage his worldly treasure that had become ashes back to its former value. Later on in life, Kisā Gotamī bore a son. The boy, however, died when he was just old enough to run about, and Kisā Gotamī was distraught with grief. She had never encountered death firsthand before. Therefore, when they came to remove the body for burning, she forbade them from doing so. She said to herself, "I will seek medicine for my son." Placing the dead child on her hip, she went from house to house inquiring, "Do you know anything that will cure my son?" Everyone said to her, "Woman, you are stark raving mad, that you go from house to house seeking medicine for a dead child." But she went on her way thinking, "Surely I can find someone who knows a cure for my child." Now a certain wise man saw her and thought to himself, "This young woman has no doubt given birth to but lost her first and only child. Nor had she seen death before. I must help her." So he said to her, "Woman, I myself do not know how to cure your child, but I know of someone who has that knowledge." "Sir, who knows that?" "Woman, the Buddha knows. Go and ask him." "Good sir, I will go and ask him." So she went to speak to the Buddha, paid respect to him, and stood at his side and asked him, "Venerable sir, is it true, as the men say, that you know how to cure my child?" The Buddha replied, "Yes, I know that." So the woman was impatient to know, where can I get the cure? And what might it be? So the Buddha explained to her, what you need is a pinch of white mustard seed. "Oh, that's not difficult for me to get," she said, "but in whose home may I get that?" And the Buddha explained, the mustard seed that will work has to come from a house where neither son nor daughter nor any other person has yet died. "Very well, Venerable sir," she said, and paid respect to the Buddha. Then she placed the dead child on her hip and entered the village, stopping at the door of the very first house, and asked, "Have you any white mustard seed here?" "They say it will cure my child." "Yes," they said, "well, then give it to me." They brought some grains of white mustard seed and gave it to Kisā Gotamī. She asked, "Friends, in this house where you dwell, has a son or daughter ever died?" And the people in the house said, "What a strange thing you have to ask, woman, because there is no household where no one has ever died, for the living are few, but the dead are many." She said, "Then take back your mustard seed, because that will not work as a medicine for my child." So saying, she gave back the mustard seed. In the same manner, going from house to house, she plied her quest. And there was not a single house where she could find mustard seed that she sought. And when she came to the evening time, she thought, "It's a heavy burden that I have taken upon myself. I thought that I alone had lost a child. But in every village the dead outnumber the living. And while she reflected thus, her heart, which until then was tender with a mother's love, became resolute. She took the child and buried him in the forest. Then she went to the Buddha, paid homage to him, and stood at one side. Said the Buddha, "Did you get a pinch of mustard seed?" "No, I did not, Venerable Sir. In every village the dead outnumber the living." Said the Buddha, "You imagined vainly that you alone had lost a child. But all living beings are subject to an unchanging law, and it is this: the Prince of Death, like a raging torrent, sweeps away the sea of ruin of all living beings. But still their longings are unfulfilled." And instructing her in the Dhamma, he pronounced the following stanza: "In flocks and children finding delight, with a mind clinging, such as a man, death seizes and carries away, as a great flood, a sleeping village." As the Buddha uttered the last part of this stanza, Kisā Gotamī was established in the fruit of stream entry. Likewise did many others also obtain the fruit of stream entry, and the fruits of the second and third paths. The story is the source of the popular aphorism, "The living are few, but the dead are many." Kisā Gotamī requested the Buddha to let her take ordination as a bhikkhuni. Accordingly, he sent her to the order of nuns and directed that they let her ordain. Afterwards, she obtained acceptance as a nun and became known as the nun Kisā Gotamī. One day it was her turn to light the lamp in the main chapel, and having lit the lamp, she sat down and watched the tongues of flame. Some flared up and others flickered out. She took the metaphor as a subject of her meditation and contemplated as follows: "Even as it is with these flames, so it is with living beings. Here in this world, some flare up, while others flicker out. Only those who have reached nirvana are no longer seen." The Buddha sent forth an apparition of himself, and standing as it were face to face with her, spoke and said, "Even as it is with these flames, so also is it with living beings here in this world. Some flare up, while others flicker out. Only those who have reached nirvana are no more seen. Therefore, better is the life of one who sees nirvana, though living but for an instant, than the lives of those who for 100 years but do not see nirvana." At the conclusion of the discourse, Kisā Gotamī, even as she sat there, attained arahantship, together with the analytical knowledges, and is recorded as declaring in verse in the Gotamī Sutta of Book 1 of the Samyutta Nikaya, "I have gotten past the death of my child, have made that the end to my search for men. I do not grieve, I do not weep. Delight everywhere has been destroyed. The mass of darkness is shattered. Having defeated the army of death, free of defilements I dwell." This thought brings me back to the Buddhist proverb from the Dhammapada with which I started this discourse, that "Yo ca vassasataṃ jīve, apassaṃ amataṃ padaṃ, ekāhaṃ jīvitaṃ seyyo, passato amataṃ padaṃ." Though one should live 100 years not seeing the deathless state, yet better is life for a single day for one who sees the deathless state. The message from this teaching is that the dead outnumber the living. We, the living, are in the minority, so a funeral should not be the time when we cry for the departed. We should cry instead for ourselves, who also continue to serve an unpredictable sentence on an allegorical death row, and who must sooner or later follow deceased to the grave. Furthermore, in keeping with the wise words of the Buddha, we should use our remaining time on this earth to strive for the attainment of the deathless, since the value of human life is not in proportion to its length in years, but rather to whether, in the time we are alive, long or short, we have managed in our meditation to touch upon nirvana, the deathless state. Imina gata punyena, through the power of the merits arising from the Dhamma talk today, may they bring Mr. Michael Heaton Woods happiness and prosperity in his new rebirth, according to the wishes of all the supporters of the funeral ceremony on this occasion. May these merits bring all supporters long life, strong health, strength, happiness, quick-wittedness. Whatever good things you wish for in life, may those things come to you easily and in every way. So instead of mourning Mr. Michael Heaton Woods, we should bear in mind that he had cultivated a not insignificant number of good deeds throughout his life, He was able to visit and support branches of Wat Pah Dhammakaya in the UK and Belgium, where his son had been posted. He had occasion to perform a meal offering for the monastic community of Wat Pah Dhammakaya Manchester at his own home. He allowed Buddha statues on the Dhammapada Jātaka to be dedicated in his name during the worst bouts of his illness, and he also showed some interest in the meditation taught by his son. So it is to be expected that with all the good deeds the deceased cultivated during his lifetime, together with all the merit of the funeral ceremonies organized in his name for the last 3 days, especially the merit of giving today's Dhamma talk on the dead outnumbering the living, and the inutility of mourning, that as Mr. Michael Heaton Woods looks down on us from his new existence, he will be led to an ever brighter, more refined status in his afterlife existence. Finally, on behalf of my family, on this final day of the 3 days of funeral ceremonies, I would like to thank all the well-wishers, congregation members, Dhammakaya staff, and temple branches who have sent me condolences or contributed towards the cost of the funeral. I would like to give an extra special thanks to the abbots, monks, and staff of the other Dhammakaya temple branches who have organized their own memorial ceremonies for Mr. Michael Heaton Woods, whether it be in Minnesota, Palm Beach, or London, and maybe other ones that I have missed. I would also like to inform everyone that the funds contributed have already allowed me to donate for a final Buddha statue on the Dhammapada Jātaka in the name of my father, in order also to contribute to alms food all this week at the IMC Azusa, and for this 3 days of funeral memorial ceremonies. Also allow me to share in the cost of the funeral ceremonies held by my own family in the UK, and I pledge that if funds remain from after all the usual costs, I will publish a funeral book of Samodhaniyagataha, or alms giving blessings in English in my father's name, and it will be inscribed with the names of all the contributors to help upgrade the monastic skill set more widely to speak English when alms food is given throughout our organization. So now, before we hear the Abhidhamma chanting, I would like to invite everyone to call to mind the merits arising and close our eyes for a few moments to reflect in silence on the nature of death, that the living are few, but the dead are many.